Hey, I'm Zach. I'm the owner, operator of No Equal. I help my clients build out different go-to-market strategies. And so today we're going to be diving into the three main problems I'm seeing with this ecom business with their go-to-market, like what we're trying to solve. And so I think the first, in every market, it's always going to be crowded. If it's not crowded, it means it is, I don't know, it's probably a bad market to get into. So first is Mudwater. I think I'm helping this digital tincture business. They make lion's mane mushrooms. It really helps with focus. And yeah, Mudwater just kind of owns the space right now. They're definitely like competing with coffee at this point. And so like initially I was thinking before doing research, I was like, okay, let's try to take a coffee angle, but that's already taken. So like that's kind of, it doesn't make sense to compete with the market leader, especially when you're a small team. Next is Rainbow. So this is more similar to what they have. So we have tinctures. They help you focus. You add it to drinks. And with these tinctures, with Mud or Rainbow, it's pretty granola. Just in terms of like their first piece of coffee is our potent, high quality adaptogenic functional mushrooms bring radical health and harmony. So super granola, woman owned, Canadian grown, guided by science, grounded in healing. So yeah, I think it's a really good brand position. They have a lot of influencers speaking about it. But I think they took this brand position of people that like typically are already using this, and I think they're doing it well. Finally is Troop, and they make gummies. I think it's a great product. I think we're a bit different just because this is focused. It looks more like on taste, where ours doesn't have any sugar added. Tastes a bit worse, and so like, that's a benefit and a negative. It just depends on how you market it. So, super crowded marketplace. That's the first problem. Second, with ecom businesses is the speed of delivery. So with consumers today, Amazon kind of just like shifted how we think about products. So we assume that we should get it in 1 to 2 business days. It should be free, and it needs to arrive on your doorstep in about 24 to 48 hours. So if you are selling things direct to consumers, that is really, really difficult. The reason Amazon's the biggest company in the world is they help solve a really, really difficult problem. And so yeah, we're trying to figure out how can we solve speed of delivery when we can't get a product to someone in 5 days. And finally is lack of trust. A new product, new brands, there's not a lot of trust in the space. And so how do you build up trust for something that you just saw? So those are like the three problems, and we're going to like dive into how I thought about the offer architecture, how I architected this offer, so that way we could kind of hit on these three different problems. First, the brand messaging. So we don't want to compete with granola people and with Rainbow. We're not necessarily better tasting, and we can't compete with mushrooms like the mushroom coffee niche. So I like this idea of like science first, mysticism optional. So that way we're essentially attacking the whole industry. We're taking a opposing brand point of view. And so that's going to be kind of like the baseline for how we're thinking about developing the offer and developing different products. So with the offer development, so there's 3 sections to this. So the first is this is going to be the lowest price, and it's going to be the focus starter pack. We're working on the name. The idea behind this is we want something that like gets people in the door. We can advertise this and have something that someone's willing to spend $39.99 on. And so how are we trying to solve these 3 main problems? Speed of delivery, crowded marketplace, lack of trust. So we're selling the tincture. That's like the bread and butter of what we're doing. But I really, really love the idea of digital products because we are essentially able to deliver something to a buyer immediately. We can kind of guide their first 5 days of their experience, but as they're like waiting for, what they bought to arrive. And so that's why like I think having, you have your physical product, but then you build out some like digital products around it. So where I landed was I like this idea of the surge system, which is it explains reishi and lion's mane mushrooms and how they work together. Or it's going to be cordyceps and lion's manes. So essentially, cordyceps like help you give you energy. Lion's manes help give you more brain clarity. And so we'll dive into the science behind that. Then like nutrition and life cycle planning. So like how you can reduce caffeine, increase how much you're drinking, how you can do caffeine cycling, morning sunlight, sleep stacking. So just like here's an overview of how you can be more focused without taking this. We'll like put together a guide on like how you can start weaning off caffeine over the next couple of days. And then as it arrives, you'll be ready to go with your first dose of Surge. Finally, it's going to be the ritual tracker, or next is the ritual tracker. So just scheduling when you're using it. The reason I like this a lot with this mushroom tincture. So if you take, an energy drink, you are going to feel the caffeine immediately. This takes about 30 to 45 minutes to like feel, which isn't too long, but like I want to reward people for taking it. I want them to like recognize that they're feeling better over the course of time. And maybe they're feeling worse and it doesn't make sense for them to buy it. But essentially we want to make a product that makes them track that type of stuff. And I want it to be a part of their daily routine. So like, I want them to take this every day instead of taking coffee. So essentially we want to make it a part of their routine. And then finally, how it works. So here's the science breakdown of what's really cool about this tincture company is they use sound waves to break down the cell walls behind things, behind the mushrooms. So instead of, while other ones will use an alcohol extraction process and then a heat extraction process, what this company does, they use a sound wave extraction process followed by alcohol, followed by heat. So they're getting more from every mushroom. And so, yeah, I think it's a cool process. And going back to our brand strategy of science first, mysticism optional, I think this is a really important thing to include. So those are that's what makes up this offer. We have the tincture, which is what everyone else is selling. And then we have these three different things that are building up our brands and trying to solve these problems. So we're trying to solve for speed of delivery. We're trying to stand out in a crowded marketplace. And we're trying to build trust. By having these three different products, I believe we're able to do each of those. And then as a bonus, we have a travel spray. So just like a small, I guess, it's like a free sample essentially of the sleep support. The idea behind this is we want them to buy it in the future. Focus Spotify playlist. Again, this is more brand building and just like, here's a nice thing. Surprise bonus, give 10, get 10. The reason I really like this is because with marketing, you're essentially buying customers. And so the idea is like, can you spend $20 to get a customer and then sell them something for $40, $100, right? And so this is just dependent on the math. Let's say it costs us, $20 to get a customer. That means this ends up being cheaper, right? It's $10 for them to buy something new, and then they $10 to get a new customer. Now, let's say it's only $5 to get a customer. This doesn't necessarily make sense. It's like good for brand building and everything, but it's really dependent on the cost of ads. So like this is something that we can get rid of. It's just like we need more data on how the ads are going to perform. Next will be a downsell. We need to figure out the pricing on this, but full bottle, the sleep support that they get for free, so like they're going to order on the main page. Then the next page will be another sales letter about sleep support. Finally, next will be a mushroom blend for gut health dogs, so they can add the sleep support to their cart, and then they can add the gut health stuff to their cart. Then they can add the mushroom blend for cats and dogs to their cart. So that's kind of the full product, for full architecture for this first product. So I think overall, if they were to buy everything, this should be around like $80 to get this. Now, obviously, not everyone's going to buy it. Like you just keep track of those stats to figure out what your cost to acquire a customer is. Next, so same thing as before, but instead of getting one bottle, they get three. They get the lion's mane put separately. They get the cordyceps separately, and the reishi, which is the sleep support. So they have the focus bottle, the energy, and the sleep. The idea behind this is in this first bottle, you get both at the same time. With this, let's say like you want to focus in the afternoon, and you are going to go to bed in 2 to 3 hours. It probably doesn't make sense to take energy right before then. And so we are going to, you get all three. This should last you about a month. So that way, and then you'll get like a guide on how to use this. So that's $99.99. So instead of buying them separately, which would be $120, you get all three for $20 off essentially. Same things as all the bonuses before. And then finally is the your year supply. So this is, the idea behind this is we need to figure out like what they're getting exactly, but I just want something that's really expensive to essentially price anchor. So some people will buy this, and that's great, but I want to price anchor. I want to make $99.99 and $39.99 not seem that expensive. And so that's why we have something just kind of ridiculously expensive. It's going to be a year supply of everything. And yeah, that's kind of essentially the only reason this is being included. We're not expecting to sell a ton, but I want a price anchor of something really expensive. Finally, so this will be the primary sales page. It'll be to each of those three products. And then once they buy, they get put into a monthly subscription, or they get asked if they want to buy a monthly subscription. The reason I don't have this on the front end is because a monthly subscription is about as hard to sell as something that costs 5 to 10x the price of it. So for something that's $29.99, so say $30, selling a monthly subscription at $30 is as hard as selling something that's $300. That's a one-time fee, like $150 to $300. So that's why we're not getting the benefit of having, a really high price to price anchor, but we're also competing, like it's just as hard to sell, $49.99 as like $500. So that's kind of like why it's not immediately available. Essentially, I want them to try it. If they like it, they can buy it, and then they'll get put into an email flow where they can get it put into this monthly subscription. So to recap, 3 problems we're trying to solve: crowded marketplace, speed of delivery, lack of trust. That's instead of just relying on the product, we're going to be building out some different digital products to help solve that problem of speed of delivery, lack of trust, and standing out in a crowded marketplace. I hope that helped. If you think that this could help, I build marketing strategies for people. I also build out the top of funnel products. So if that sounds like something that you'd be interested in, book a call. If not, just like and subscribe if you thought this was helpful. Thanks. Bye.